Alright guys, in this video we're going to be replacing the door behind me. It's basically completely rotten at the bottom and been wanting to do it for a while and just haven't had the time or weather to do it. Going to get a couple of days of sunshine, so we'll get to her here. Okay, we went and grabbed some junk fast food and I'm back on it again. I'm trying to get this lumber over here out so I can put in new hinge side studs. So that's what we're doing, is just trying to get this thing opened up the rest of the way. Alright guys, day 2. Got all the framing tore out. Not sure where you guys left off yesterday. It got kind of late and I got tired and probably forgot to push the record button. So there's 3 2x6s underneath this janky beam here. I think it's like a 2x8, 3 wide the beam is from eons past. So one of those studs was trashed, and so I put in a new one. I had 2x6s that had aged for a whole year, so they're completely bone dry. And I did my patented oil treatment on the bottom of the beams or studs. So there's one stud here and two kiln dried studs over here. And the bottoms of them have been rolled with a mixture of diesel and engine oil, and that should keep the bugs and hopefully a little bit of water out. And then I set these two beams here because it drips and water splashes up. I set these two on a piece of comp roofing, and hopefully that will just keep the moisture from maybe wicking out of the concrete into them. Don't know if it'll work. And I put 2 screws in the door and threw it back in the hole last night, so to keep cats out. So, gonna pull the door off, and I went to Lowe's. So I went to a hardwood supply, thinking they might have some cheap pine, and their linear foot price was more than Lowe's. So I just went to Lowe's and got pine for the door jamb, and I was able to find kiln dried 2x6s there as well, 92 and 5/8. And I'm going to use those for, I don't know what door terminology is, the rails and the stiles. So whatever the long ones are and the cross ones, I'm going to do 2x6s. And then I'm going to do infill with just plywood that I bought as well. Got hinges, got a door lock set. So it's just a matter of me doing some woodworking. Again, I'll put it in air quotes because I'm not a carpentry guy. I'm probably more like a framer and less like a finished woodworker. So at some point we'll roll the table saw out and get to cutting lumber. But for now, I'm going to bring all the lumber in here and just day 2 get going here. So. Jambs should have been 1x8s, but they're expensive and I'm cheap, so I'm gonna just to make the 1x8 would have been to make up the stud and the siding. So instead, I'm gonna hold the jamb to the siding, trim that off afterwards, and we'll do some kind of hocus pocus trim to make up the opening of the door. So I'll have the trim going against the siding, and I may cut it back. I'm not quite sure what I'm doing yet, so we'll figure it out. It doesn't have to be perfect. And like I said, I would have got 2x10 or 1x10s, but I think the difference was $12 each versus 20, and I'm on a budget, so that's the way it is. Alright guys, you can see that this beam, being only 2 studs, is bowed. And so, you know, it's the pressure from the building bowing it that direction. And so what we're going to do, we're going to put this 2x4 on here, and we're going to take that bow out right there. So you can see it goes to 0 up there and 0 down there. Okay, so I use this 2x4 as a strong back, and you can see now that this is sucked in flush right here. And what it does is it transfers some of the tension onto that. So we'll do it again here and get this evened up. And it looks like down here we're pretty close. All right, here's the composite beam. You can see that there's 2x6s and then a 2x4 going that direction. And it's it's flush all the way up. And you can see the small amount it sticks out. All right, so jams in. And I gotta trim that piece of paper off there. But she's in and plumb. So I'm gonna start thinking about the door next. Alright guys, day 3. I got ahead of myself this morning in front of you guys. So I'm making the door out of kiln dried 2x6s. I may have said that before. And for all you door people out there, I'm going to get it wrong. I think this is a rail. Hold on, I can look this up. Alright, kind of makes sense. Rails are, you put your hand on the rail, it goes across. Okay, so right now I'm making the rails, the bottom and top rail. And then at some point I'll be making the stiles. And if you don't have specialized hardware, this involves some plunge cutting on the table saw, and then some hand work with this, and then some further hand work with the with this doodad, multifunction tool, plunge cut. So it's not going to be like a door you buy from Lowe's, but the shop's not like a shop you'd buy from Lowe's. So I already did this cut here for the paneling's gonna come in from the back, and so the plywood's gonna pocket into this, and then on the front of the door facing out, the stiles are gonna go past and the rails are going to go in between. That's how the other door was. So I'm going to cut half the thickness off of this side and this side, and that is going to allow it to go between the stiles, this lower rail. And it's slow work, so. So I have this set to 3/4 of an inch for half the thickness here, and then I'm going to use the table saw to cut this from both sides, and then I'm going to have to maybe use the bandsaw. I'm not sure. I don't know what. Well, I know what you could do without a bandsaw. You'd use a sawzall with like a wide blade. There's some other tricks too. You could take the skill saw and just work your way back and forth in here, and then clean it up with the chisel. What am I doing? I'm checking the width on this. blade all the way up. Highway to the danger zone. So what I'm going to do is mark the table where the blade ends so I don't overcut. So I'm just taking a permanent marker and marking the end of the blade. I also have my table up here marked for different reasons, but just gives me a place to stop so I don't overcut the wood. And then same thing here, right? Alright, we're going to try using the resaw for part of this. Get crap out of everywhere. Tiny shop. Lots of moving shit around. Down out of the road. Okay. Move this thing. Plug the resaw in. Bandsaw, whatever. Not bad, I'm going to have to clean it up. Alright guys, I was going to try to do some janky, like, sand the extra wood off, but that ain't going to work. That's a bunch of baloney. So we're going to use power carbon. Now we'll try finishing with this. Alright, I added a handle. Yeah, I think that cleaned up nicely. For who it is and what it's for. Alright. So that side ended up looking like that, and then the style is going to come through here. So, I think this piece is done for now. That's the outside. This is the inside. In fact, I better write on it so I don't get confused. Okay, inside up. Right, inside, outside. Yep. Okay, one part's done. Alright, so we're working on a style, and right now I'm doing layout. So I measured the door that's here, and it's 39, and the door on my house is 36, so I went with 36 to the knob, which puts the deadbolt at 41 and a half, I think. Let's see. Yeah, and so I'm doing 2 3/4 to here, to the center line. And I wanted to put the style right here, but the problem is the way I'm cutting this, if I were to cut this out, then the deadbolt knob would split this thin wood. So I believe the style is going to go up here. So this is the actual center line of the style right here. And if I go half each direction from center, that should make my panels the same size or nearly the same size. I've got to check, since my deadbolt center's here and my line is right here, I got to see how close that's going to be to screws that are going in here, because I don't want them anywhere near that edge. So I may end up having to move. This is the size of the style, go here. I may end up having to move it up a little bit like that. So we'll see. But because the door is so tall, I don't want to go down here because it would look stupid. So we got to go up above these. I'm not super keen on that. There's not much else I can do. Alrighty, so right now this fits flush. I don't know about the piece I'm actually going to work on, but for right now that's not bad. So the actual raw stock I think might be bigger. We'll see. Yeah, we'll maybe, oh no, that fits. Okay, sweet. Alright guys, I didn't film yesterday. We went on a another mission to Advanced Auto. That that turned into a whole ordeal. So that'll be in a future video because it was kind of fun. It's fun to spend time with my son and goof off. So I don't know how much I showed you guys, so we'll just recap real quick. So this is the style, and the rails are done, mostly done. I got a center rail to do. It was a little difficult to finish this pocket right here, and I was driving back in the car this morning, and I may have to make and glue up small shims for the ends. So I overcut on the depth so that the two boards sit past each other slightly. So if I were to glue it up, it wouldn't measure out 1.5 inches. I'm a hair under, which makes the total 1.5 inches thickness. I'm sorry. 3/4 and 3/4 would normally make up 1.5, which is what this is. But I must have overcut one piece or both pieces. So I'm probably going to have to make shims, like a hole. I'll have to cut them on the table saw. Not really a big deal, other than I'm not happy that I did it, but such is life. So I'll have to evaluate how bad they are and may have to shim it to get them to line up. But right now I'm going to cut the rabbet out of this side of the style, and that is for the plywood centers that are going to go in the center of the door. And this is the knob side, so I've still got holes to drill. I've got to do all the machining in the end for the lock sets, and I was just at Lowe's like an hour ago, and I forgot to check to see if I had a hole saw size because I had to get a product shipped out for a customer. So anyways, probably won't be going back to Lowe's because it's clear across town. We got an Ace that's real close. If I need 1 1/8 hole saw. I could make a template for a router, and I don't want to. I just want to go get the hole saw. And plus, that's a lot of stick out for a router bit. So, anyways, I'm going to rabbet out this side. I'm going to start on the other style. And, of course, that style also has to have the hinges machined into it, which is probably going to do with a router. I'm not totally sure. So we're going to get started here. Okay, let's do the other cut. So this is going to be the opposite. So I just did 1 inch in and 3/4 down. And now I'm going to do 3/4 in across the wood and 1 inch plunge. Probably better terminology. So 3/4, and I'm cutting to the far side of the blade, and I'm making sure my fall is that direction. Scratch that. So if I want my pieces to fall off out there and not get trapped against the fence, I need 3/4 inch on that side of the blade. So this side is now rabbeted for the plywood. Okay, I had a big old coughing fit. I'm allergic to sawdust. Happened a long time ago, and I kind of always don't worry about it until a couple hours in, and then I start hacking and coughing. So I got this darn mask. But yeah, I just had a terrible coughing fit and don't want to do that again. So anyways, this is just dry assembled. I'm going to drill it next and pre-assemble it, and then I got to check it in the door opening to make sure it's not too big. It's quite tight, so I want to make sure it's not too tight. And once I've determined that it's not too tight, then we'll go from there and see if it's not too tight. That's going to be awesome. I can go ahead and get ready to glue it up. Anyways, stupid mask. Alright guys, I've been sick with the flu for over a week. Don't mean to be a downer, just really tired. So just bought a hole saw to do these two doorknob locations. Gonna drill those, freehand them. I was gonna put them in the drill press, and I don't want to take the time to set it up. I'm not even sure if I could get it super square or not. Probably, I don't know. So just gonna freehand it and do it that way. So pretend like I drilled two holes for you guys, like you haven't seen hole saws before. I screwed up. Just bought this new 2 1/8 hole saw. Man, this flu really did a doozy on me. So I didn't show you guys. It was pointing at my head the whole time. Probably couldn't even see that, just the top of my head. Yeah, I gotta get Forstner bits out because I think they'll make the cleanest hole through the end. Not quite sure how I'm gonna do those again. Alright guys, I had to sand this block square on 2 sides and then check it with straight edge to see if I could get this, if I can use a Forstner. I mean, it's pretty straight. Alright, so now that I can't get to the outlet, alright, when in doubt, get the calipers out. Looks like that's 1415. Wait a minute. One, 4, 2, 5. This is 1, 1, 4, 5. All right, I should be able to do this and not have a disaster happen. All right, here's the door screwed together. It's just barely strapped together, and then it's squared from corner to corner. And I'm gonna start patterning out the bolt holes in the corners here, each corner, and then there in the middle. And I'm gonna dry fit it, get it screwed together dry. And then once that's done, if it doesn't move around a lot, I'm going to test fit it in the rough, or in the door frame, just to see how tight it really is. And I may have to, it's quite tight, so I may have to trim it down a little bit to get it to open and shut on the door opening. Once I've tested it in the door opening and decide I like the fit, I'm going to go ahead and actually glue it up. And then once it's glued up, I can get the middle panels in. Alright guys, so the way I've been doing these corners is I've been coming 1.25 inches in from each edge. When I did this rabbet, I overcut it, so it's a little close here in the corner, but like I said, I'm going 1.25 inches in this way, 1.25 inches in this way. The first 2 screws are in this direction at 1.25 inches, and then the other ones are centered. So there's 6 per corner. I'm not gluing them just yet because I may have to trim the door up. And then once it fits the opening, then I'll glue it up permanently. So I pre-drilled just a little ways down. These will get put in further when I glue the joints up. I'll probably pull them out and countersink all the heads just a little bit. But for now, I'm just temping them up. I may counterboard the middle one there because it's real brittle wood. It's from the old door, and it's like furniture grade, super crispy wood. I don't want it to break. All right. I know it looks janky, but it's all glued up. I had to do a bunch of shimming because I'm a crappy woodworker. But I've got all my glue drying. You can see all the different joints and stuff like that. So just getting this, letting it sit overnight, and hopefully tomorrow it'll be glued up, and then I can chip off the little drips and get some paneling in, some plywood paneling, and it'll be real close to hanging it in the jamb. Alright, so I've got the whole door unclamped. I've got this panel is sanded on this side. Haven't decided if I'm going to stain it yet or not. Probably not. So I've got that panel over there. I still got to sand that. And then on this side, you can see the markings where the screws are going to go. I'll have to pre-drill that center thing there because it's old wood and it's super brittle. So I'll have to get this glued up and get the panel put in. Alright guys, I am finally feeling better. I think this is the first day where I haven't coughed incessantly. I still have a little bit of a cough, but we're talking like, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks. And the video will span that far back. So, as you can see, I've got the door basically done. I got to flip it over and paint the inside, and not quite sure what I'm going to do there yet. Today I painted all the brown. Yesterday I painted the white. Since you guys haven't seen it in a while because I had just been sick and haven't updated, I put these little braces in. May not have even had the plywood paneling in. So this is the outside of the door. Everything's screwed in from the back. So at some point I'll fix the screws. Right now they're just exposed, but I will actually. Sorry, I split my thumbnail. Yeah, so I'll paint in the back today. I'll get it all white and then get the interior brown. I'll take you guys off there and I'll show you the door jamb because I've also worked a significant amount on the jamb. So I still have you guys are probably way too close. I still have hinges, the hinge pockets to put in the door jamb, and I won't do that till I shim the door up and make sure it's square and whatnot. So, but I will go ahead and show you guys what I got done there. So I actually cut the door jamb up to height, and I got it all painted gloss white, so you can see that I got this trim piece on here, and then I got this jamb on. I held them off the ground because that's how they rotted out in the first place. And then I just threw some paint on this piece here. It's nothing special. It's an old garage and not super fantastic quality, but it's way better than it was. I mean, if I show you the old door, you can see it's literally just rotting. You can see how much higher the new door is going to be, and significantly wider too. So you can see how much wider the opening is, and the main reason for making it wider is I have equipment that I basically couldn't get in and out of the 36-inch door, and now that it's 44 inches wide, all of the equipment fits out the opening. So I still have to pocket in the hinges. It's going to open out this time instead of in, which is also great. And I've got to pocket out the area for the doorknob that, you know, it latches to. So still got some work to do, but got everything mostly painted. I'm going to paint the other side of the door today, and then probably not going to get it hung because it takes forever to dry, but at least it'll be totally painted out today. So that's what's happening. All right, guys, I'm further along than I wanted to be for recording, but I did spend a number of days painting, and I don't think that painting a door or painting some trim is very interesting. So I spared you guys from that because, I mean, it's just boring as all get out to watch some guy paint a door. So you can see I got the lock sets in. That went as you could have possibly imagined. They went in fine. I did get the jambs in, and so I'll show you that. And right now I'm trying to set the I don't even know what you'd call it. It's not the jamb. It's the part the door shuts against. So you door guys out there, you'll know what part that is. And then I'm setting the deadbolt in the jamb itself, And I realized that if I could have machined it before I put these pieces on, I should have, and I'll explain that in a sec. It'll be self-evident, but I'm going to use a little piece of wood over here to space my router out. I'm using a router to cut the hole. I don't even know if that's the right way to do it. But I didn't have any way to locate, as the door opens and shuts, I had no way to locate the center line of the door really that I was comfortable with. So it was easier to have the door shut and then measure back off of the edge of the jamb and blah, blah, blah. So let me get you off there and I'll show you. So the deal is, this is the part I installed, and it gave me a way to measure off this side to get the center line of the deadbolt. And the deadbolt needs to be, the deadbolt sticks out 1 inch. This right here is 1 inch, and so that has to be able to go into that jamb there 1 inch. And then the outline, the part I haven't routed yet, is the actual metal part. So that looks like this. And I have to machine that as well. And then I'm going to have to do the same thing for the part the door shuts on. And you can already see the mark it's left right here. So this is going to go here. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do there. I probably should cut this out or put some metal on there. I'm not sure what to do. So the door probably shuts too far inside the opening. Again, I'm not a door guy, so I did what I thought was right. Actually, the trim should probably sit back a ways, and then it wouldn't have been such a big deal. It still would have been closer. Anyways, we'll figure it out. It's not at the end of the world if I have to route it out a little bit and paint it. So anyways, we'll get going on that. Alright guys, that shuts. You can see it actually went through to the stud behind it. And so now what we're going to do is we are going to cut the outer part for the metal. Alright guys, so this is how it turned out. You can see that. And then I had to channel this out because I'm not a good door guy. So you can see how, and I'll put the I'll put the piece in there real quick. So you can see how it fits. Anyways. Okay guys, here's how the door turned out. You can see how much taller it is than the old door. I've got the old door just screwed in here on the inside with literally 2 screws. So that's gonna come out here today. And you can also see the difference in door width between the old door and the new door. And so it just makes getting equipment outside and inside, for height, it just makes it so much easier. So we'll kind of go over what I had to do. I had to let out that jamb area, and then you can see how that sits. So what I should have done is this right here is siding of the shop. This is the new trim piece I added. I should have cut the siding back approximately 2 inches back that way. And then this cap should have been 1.5 inches thick, and that would have left a 1/4 inch from here to here. And that didn't happen, and so that's why this would normally overlap this piece, and then this would be way back, and the trim would be back behind here. And I didn't do that, and so that's kind of a failure on my part, but it'll work fine for what it is. But yeah, if I had it to do over again, that's what I would have done. Just trimmed it out where that whole entire package, the siding and the trim, should be back a 1/4 inch, like I did this side correctly. So you can see that this is a 2x4, and this is held a 1/4 inch back, and it allows room for the barrel. And so that's what I should have done with this side over here, and I didn't do that. So we'll cover a couple other things real quick. So you can see the door shuts fine. I'll go ahead and shut it. Shuts. This post, this stud set here, I had to pound it that way about a 1/8 or 1/16 because I didn't make the door square. So I'm not a door maker, and there's a lot of little things that I'll kind of discuss here at the end of the video. But I'm super happy about how it shuts really nice. The lock set all works real well. I am gonna put I'm going to put some foam right here, some sticky foam, so that it shuts a little softer. I'm going to just get some real thin foam. The shop is not even close to airtight, so I'm not worried at all about the door not having the weather stripping that most doors have. I could have done that, and because the door size is not standard, I would have had to have pieced 2 door strippings together. So it's easier just to put a little foam on there, and if it wears out over time, who cares? Yeah, so we'll kind of outro this video on the tripod. So I'll give you my final thoughts. If you can afford it, go to your local hardwood store and get 8/4 dimensional lumber. The door is 1.5 inches thick. That's probably a standard door size. I think if I could have done it over again, I would have preferred for the I believe it's the stiles and rails to be 1.75 inches instead of 1.5 inches. I probably would have made them out of some kind of hardwood, even though it would have been harder to machine them. Yeah, I mean, if you've got a wood shop, you can take square cut lumber and router it and soften the edges and do a bunch more work. I approached it this way. I got kiln dried 2x6s for like, I don't remember what they were. We'll call it like between $5 and $10 each. So we're literally talking 5, 10, 15. This came from framing from the old portion, which it's so brittle. This actually was very difficult to work with. I had to pre-drill everything that went into this portion of the door because it was like working with wood that had been in a fire. It was just as brittle as you could possibly imagine. Probably makes great furniture, but as far as I'm concerned, it was very difficult to work with. Very old lumber, for being Doug fir, it was as hard as oak. What are some of the other takeaways? The kiln dried 2x6s are dimensionally, they're crap. They're all over the place. So once I got the door put together, I used the belt sander on it with some like 80 grit or 120 grit, and I just took a lot of the inconsistencies down. When they send those 2x through the planer at the mill, you know, the planer puts cupping or chipping or whatever, you know, it's from the blade. And so when I belt sanded these, you could actually see the rippling from them planing it down. I will say, from a Gennaro guy, non-woodworking, non-wood shop, you know, I've done wood shop stuff, but from the guy who's working at home, the nice thing about dimensional lumber is the edges are already softened. So I just got my DA out and just softened them a little more, and that part was easy. Some other takeaways. I think I used 3/4 inch plywood, which is what? It's actually 23 30-seconds or something like that. I might have went with something a little thicker, or no, I think I used 5/8, but I would either go with 3/4 or 1 inch. On the plywood, if you can splurge and afford some type of plywood that's got veneer on it, I would do that. It just makes painting this side a lot nicer. What else? Like I said, for a guy who doesn't do a lot of woodworking, placing the hinges and getting them the correct depth in, using the router on 2x6s that have a slight round to the edges, so your router kind of wants to tip as you're machining the pockets for the hinges. You know, the wood guys are going to go nuts because there's no way they would use 2x6s to build a door, but it didn't go that bad. It was a pain in the butt to let the hardware in. I didn't have the 2 1/8 inch hole saw that you're supposed to have. I used Forstner bits to go down the end of the 2x6. Now, I will say, using the what did I do? I can't even remember. Oh. Okay. Sorry, guys. I'll have to edit that. Using the drill press and making sure the drill press column was square to the table. In my case, our drill press table doesn't tilt, and so it's square. But at least I don't think it tilts. I made sure it was square. Using that with a Forstner bit to drill down the end of the 2x6 before I glued everything up was so much easier to get the barrel for the hardware to run square or planar to the 2x6. I don't think you could freehand it. If you did, gosh, I don't know what setup you'd have. But yeah, I used the drill press, put the 2x6 on there, you know, made sure it was square to the quill or planar to the quill, and then I was able to use a Forstner bit to do the hardware. So the hardware on the end of the door here turned out really nice. It went right in there. I did, it bugs me, the deadbolt is out like a 30-second, but I can see it eyeball, you know, I can look at it and tell that the face plate's out a little bit, and it's going to drive me nuts forever, but it is what it is. So I didn't quite get that square by the tiniest amount, and you can see it. But as far as functionality goes, it shuts great. So I'm extremely happy with how it turned out. I got the lock set at Home Depot on clearance, so I just happened to be walking by one day and they had doorknobs on clearance. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm sure I'll need that somewhere. So this black doorknob set, I was able to just go by one day and it was on clearance. So this door used to open in, and the concrete floor in the shop runs uphill from the door here, and our door would drag. And as far as like shop doors go, they should open out. I mean, I don't have a huge comment about homes, but for shop, you want the door, in case there's an emergency, to open out. You want to be able to get out of there. So I bought hinges that can't be taken apart. I think they're called security hinges, but I'm not sure. They don't have a pin that comes out. So I have to say I'm so grateful now that this door opens outward, and you're not gonna, when you're going in the shop, you're not gonna hit somebody inside the door with the door. That used to happen also. You'd be working in there and someone would open the door into you. I plan on putting a barn sash window in here at some point. Probably won't happen till early summer, but maybe the final question would be something like, would you do it again? And the answer to that would be no, unless a custom door cost $5,000. And so reluctantly I would do it again. It took way longer than I wanted it to. Between getting the flue and the door, it's been 3 or 4 weeks. Way too long to have the door open. So I don't know what it would cost to have a solid door with plywood. I don't even know if someone would make that, but the actual opening, clear opening inside the door is 42 by 91.5. And so I've got no clue what that would cost. No clue at all. I don't know if the door would come with the jambs. It probably would. Or if you just buy a bare door. I haven't ordered a door ever, so. But I also don't know how much that it would cost someone to give you a primered door. I really don't. So if it was in the $300 to $400 range for me, this is me personally, and I'm probably out of my mind. If it was $300 or $400 for a primered door like this, I would absolutely buy it. If it was $500 to $800, no. I mean, all in, not including my time, this door probably cost, I don't know, $200, and that would be if you had to go buy the paint and the knob at a regular price. I got the knob on clearance and I had the paint, so my cost on the door was probably $100 at the most, including all the hardware and screws and hinges and stuff. So I'm very happy with how it turned out. It's not perfect. It fits the country motif we got going on here. So happy to have a entry door that's large, and I don't know how, but I hope this video helps one of you guys out there. If not, I hope it was entertaining. I'll talk to you later.